going to be reviewing episode 2 of Still Star-Crossed. Super late to the party, but you know, life sometimes does that to you, doesn't it? I really enjoyed episode 2, and I would love to talk about some things that had me all shook up. Before I get into spoilers, I will say that I really liked this episode. It was nice because now that we know all the characters, we know who they are and kind of what their motivations are, we can just follow their story as opposed to the first episode, which had to set everything up, and also decided to retell the Romeo and Juliet story in like 20 minutes. We can just watch the characters do their thing. The transitions that I talked about in my episode review for episode 1 are not quite as many. The first episode had a lot of that weird zooming in really fast thing, and this episode does to a certain extent, but it's not quite as much, which was nice. I do find it's kind of hard to watch these transitions because it's just so fast. There's so many images flying at your face. I appreciate that they're trying to create a style. They're trying to create a sense that Verona is like this bustling city where so much is happening all at once. I appreciate the idea, but I don't necessarily like it. In any case, you can always close your eyes when these moments happen and then open them up again when you start to hear characters talking. I also really like how we get to expand on some of the characters that don't really do a lot in the book. It's nice to see what they were up to while Rosaline and Benvolio were off doing their own thing. So what I like about this episode especially is that they took certain events from the book and they really heightened the tension and they heightened the stakes and everything, which I thought was really cool. So they took parts of the book and expanded upon them in a way that I really enjoyed. There is some brand new stuff, but it makes sense for the world and for the characters. It's not totally off the wall. So now I'm going to get into some spoilers. If you have not watched this episode, please turn away, unless you want to hear spoilers, in which case, stick around. So first up, I want to talk about the scene that probably had everybody talking, and that was Aeschylus and Rosaline's scene at the dinner. This was a moment in the book that really made me not team Aeschylus 100%, and in the show I'm still much more team Benvolio, but I don't really dislike Aeschylus as much as I did in the book. So the scene that I'm talking about is where Rosaline and Aeschylus are having this whole conversation. He's saying, okay, we'll break off the marriage, like we'll be together instead, like screw this shit, let's just love each other. So in the book, this doesn't really happen this way. Basically, Aeschylus gets Rosaline really drunk, and then Rosaline wakes up on a chair in his chambers or something, and she's so disoriented, she doesn't know what happened, and Aeschylus is standing up there talking to her, and he's saying, you can either say you'll marry Benvolio, and I'll tell the court that you slept with Princess Isabella since you guys used to be best friends, like you had a little sleepover, nothing improper there. Or if you refuse to marry Benvolio, I will tell the world that you slept with me and your virtue will be ruined, and so will Livia's prospects of finding a decent husband, and you'll be fucked up. This happened in the show, but it was a lot less dickish, I guess, in the show. And that was something when I was reading the book that I thought was totally out of character for this guy. Like, up until that point, he seemed like a really sweet, sensitive guy who has just had to make that decision based on politics. He didn't really want to do it, but he thought that that was the best course of action for the peace of Verona. And then out of nowhere, he's just like, you know what? If you don't do this, I'm going to tell everyone you're a hoe. He really is in a position of power over her, and he abused that power to get what he wanted. To a certain extent, this does happen in the episode, but I think that his motivations are just so much clearer in the episode than they were in the book. So in the episode, Aeschylus, he says to Rosaline, like, screw this, I just want to be with you. In the night, he is approached by his servant, and they go down to the Montague chambers to find Romeo's body, like, totally vandalized. And this was a moment that got me so surprised, like, I literally gasped. I was not expecting that at all. Like, there's like a lot of references to vandalism happening, but it's mostly stuff like people like scribbling shit on the gravestones, or people, you know, having fights in the street. but like not totally like cutting up somebody's dead body. Like, holy crap. So I can totally understand why Aeschylus had this change of heart. So I like how they gave him some motivation for doing that, as opposed to just, you know, kind of being a jerk about the whole thing. Like, he's still being a jerk about it, but at least now there's a reason. The stakes have been heightened, and that if he feels like this is the only option, maybe it is better for Rosaline to just hate him. Good job, Aeschylus. Why did they gotta do Romeo like that? Poor guy. He never did anything wrong. Kind of. I mean, he did kill Tybalt and tried to kill Paris. But whatever, he is flawless, okay? My favorite line, I think, in this episode was definitely Benvolio's "Everybody knows you only steal from the rich." Classic. The whole thing about Capulet's cathedral, I think, is a new story. Like, I feel like they briefly mentioned it in the book, but I don't really remember it. So I have a feeling that it was more just a background thing. But I like how they're developing it into a plot, and how Montague, you know, suspects that Capulet is out of money, but still pushes for the marriage to be in the cathedral, causing, you know, more tension between these two people. One moment that really got me totally surprised was freaking Capulet pushing the stonemason and killing him. Like, what the actual hell? Giles! King Uther! I didn't know you had it in you! Like, what? So one thing that I did not mention in my episode 1 review, but I'm gonna touch on now, is Rosaline and Livia's living situation. So in the book, they live off in this random cottage, basically at the mercy of the Capulet lord that keeps that cottage, or those grounds, but they have a pretty independent life. But in the show, they are basically maids of the Capulet house, which I think is quite intriguing. I think it'll make things a little bit more interesting when it comes to the plot line where Lady Capulet is saying Juliet committing suicide doesn't make any sense to me. Somebody must have given her the idea, like Rosaline. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays into the fact that Rosaline lives in the Capulet mansion. It makes the danger more immediate. It's interesting to me that despite Rosaline now being the true heir, Livia still has to be a servant? Like, there's some weird shit going on in the Capulet house. So I think that Lady Capulet will have a very interesting arc. I'm hoping that her saying it doesn't make sense, why did she do this after, you know, being so full of life. It will be interesting to see if they expand upon that, if maybe they do some things through flashback showing that Juliet was actually really unhappy and that the reason why she committed suicide when she saw that Romeo was dead was because, like, he was her only reason for living or something. Like, I don't know. I hope that we get more of Romeo and Juliet in flashback in future episodes. Rosaline and Benvolio, I really just want them to, like, get to, like, the friendship stage, because right now they're, like, on, you know, shaky ground. I think that they will eventually be bros and maybe then lovers. I really want to see the gradual change from hating each other's guts to, you know, tolerating each other to, like, being friends to love. I don't know what I'm doing. But I just loved that part where Benvolio walks up to her while they're at the party and she's like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "Just checking up on my beloved." So funny. One thing that I hope we see more of Benvolio's character, like in the play Romeo and Juliet, of the three friends, he's like the most responsible. And in the show he seems to be a little bit more of a wild card, but I do want to see more of his, like, logical, thoughtful side come out. Maybe he just hides it. Who knows? But it'll be interesting to see. So I feel like Princess Isabella is going to have an interesting arc in this show. I think that she might do a little bit more than what she did in the book. Because in the book, she, like, leaves halfway through to go to Mantua to marry Don Pedro from Much Ado About Nothing. But I'm hoping that she stays in Verona. I think this could be really interesting. I don't 100% trust her. Like, I really like her, but I have a feeling that she could become the reigning sovereign of Verona as opposed to Aeschylus, because there's that scene right at the very end where she's saying we need to have peace. Our father's law of just like killing somebody without trial for attempting murder is the best course of action. I wonder if she doesn't actually believe that and that she's just saying this to her brother so that the public will get pissed at him and not her, and that she can rise to the throne. I mean, I don't know. She might just be a regular person. She might not be a sneaky at all, but I think that it would be interesting if she was. I hope that she sticks around for the whole series. I really want Melinda Tobe to write a Much Ado About Nothing thing now that she wrote Still Star-Crossed and like had references to Much Ado About Nothing. That'd be cool if she did that. It'd be cool if the show did that. I just want to see some Much Ado shit on my screen, okay? In any case, I am so excited for episode 3. I hope that we get a season 2. It's too early to tell at this point, but I really hope we do. Let me know if you guys enjoyed this episode and what your thoughts are. And I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye!